All right, welcome everybody. I'm so delighted to have you all gathering here together today. I'm Gloria Lybecker, and I'm just, I'm just west of Spokane, and I'm excited because we're really going to be focusing on both animals and on recovery and endurance. So our animals need to have that just as much as we do. I know I've been noticing for myself that I'm developing a lot more resiliency. I'm having more endurance, and I'm excited about it with my breathing. And so I kind of went through some rough patches in the winter, but I persevered, and I believe I'm growing new connections deep inside of myself, and that's exciting. I'd love to get to share my screen with you here today and get to introduce you to a good friend of mine and a teammate. Here we go. Introduce you to Darlene Dozier. Can you guys see me? There you are.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, like Gloria said, I'm Darlene Dozier, and Gloria and I have been friends for quite some time. I'm down from the Walla Walla Valley area, and Gloria used to live down this way. So we had developed a relationship and kept in contact with each other. So that's how my adventure began with ASEA and redox. And I had reached out to her actually for a different animal than I'm going to talk about today, but that's how I got involved in all this. And I just kind of threw myself into it because my background, I studied nursing. I'm an RN. And then from there, I decided illness wasn't really my thing. And I was more interested in the wellness. So I went back and got my exercise physiology degree and worked in the wellness and fitness industry from my 20s forward. So that's my niche that I fit into. I'm a farm girl. I competed showing horses. We live on a big farm. I have many different animals, but the one I want to talk to you today about is our Malamute Husky. His name is Tivo. He's going to be 14 this year. And as you know, with this larger breed, you start running into some problems with their backside. They start getting a little dilapidated. About 3 years ago, he showed some gradual signs of that. Plus he had a lot of sensitivity down his spine. And then about 18 months ago, he got to the point where it was hard for him. He'd sit down and couldn't get up, and that just gradually progressed. And I kept, finding different nutritional supplements for him to help with that, like glucosamine, yucca, turmeric, green lipid, had him on all those, and they helped. So we did really well for a long time, but then we hit a wall and nothing was working. So when I got this redox for my kitty, for her situation, I just dove in and started giving it to this beautiful dog you're looking at right now. And I think right now I want to just have Gloria cue up the video, and let's see the progression here. So here you'll see he's just got those feet bent over, trying to hold himself up. He's very weak in the hips and lost a lot of strength over the course of that time. Now we're a week out, so he's had it for a week, and he's actually using those muscles again and trying to form his gait again. Now we're 2 weeks, and he says, maybe I can trot. Maybe I could move out a little more, and he's planting his feet down solid. Every once in a while, he'll get one curled underneath. That happens, but he's walking, and he's able to get up on his own again. And here he is. This is 4 weeks out, and he's starting to engage in play again. So that was just 30 days of using Redox, and I gave him, I would say about 2 ounces a day, every day. Tebow got 32 or 2 ounces, and this is where we're at. We're continuing with that same program. And I'm just really thankful because he was getting stuck out in our yard and we didn't know where he was. And, you know, to be out there all night, you know, it's cold and so those things were happening. So I'm just grateful. I am just grateful for this product and what it's given him, you know, a little second chance here to, you know, enjoy wherever we're headed with him. And the one thing I really want to point out is he displayed, you could tell he was in pain because I would rub my hand down his back, his spine, and he would just growl and, you know, it's hurt. And I was actually getting the comb out. You would have seen in that video, there was a kind of a bald patch up above his tail head. Well, I had gone as far as to use athletic tape on him. So I was using that tape and I kind of shaved that area down a little bit so the tape would stick there. And I ran it down his hips because, you know, I have my background in exercise physiology. So I was trying all sorts of different things to help this guy. But happily, I got the little brush out and I thought, well, maybe we can finally get that undercoat combed out. And he didn't say a thing. He enjoyed it. So the pain I know is reduced just because I can see it in his eyes. And I'm just grateful. So do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, I'd love for you to share how did you administer the Redox and what amounts did you find worked best for Tebow?
So I started in the beginning, I used the good old syringe, and I didn't really enjoy that application because I put 2 ounces in the bowl. He did drink from the bowl. You know, that was our goal, to do that. But for me, my goal was he has to have this. You know, I can't rely on if he just takes an ounce. You know, he was at a point where I needed this to be in him. So I actually had gotten the pouches, and I thought, you know, that's got a nice little neck on it. And so I just used the pouch. In fact, I'm giving it to the other dog you saw there at the end. That's Moose, and he has some lipomas on his leg and back. And so I thought, well, you're going to get it too. So I just kind of stick that pouch right inside their mouth, and I just feed them a little, let them swallow. And that's how we do it now. We just use the pouch.
And about how much of that are you getting in them then? Because they're 8-ounce pouches.
Yeah, I get about 1 to 2 ounces in Tebow, and just about an ounce in Moose is all I give him. He doesn't have any really huge health issues. He's pretty darn healthy.
Nice. Are there any other questions people would like to ask Darlene while they have the opportunity?
You mentioned your kitty. I was wondering how you administered it to your cat.
So I started with a really small syringe with her, and because I also have to put a little bit up. Her condition requires me to put it up her nostril. That's where the issue lies, and so I started doing that, but I was just getting I didn't have control of the flow. And so this bottle I showed you earlier, if Gloria wants to take off the picture, there we go.
Just stop the share here for a second. There we go.
So this is what I use with her now, and the flow is perfect for a cat and a small dog. You have so much more control of the flow with this. This has been the best.
Thank you.
Even with a dog of Tebow size, you could go to the next size up of a saline bottle, and that dispenses a little more. And I might try that with Tebow, so we don't we have a little bit of waste right now using the pouch. I'm not going to lie. There's a little bit of waste that comes out of his mouth. So I might try that bigger saline bottle and dispense it that way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And you also had a nebulizer going, didn't you? Or some kind of.
I did for Leia.
Okay.
Yeah, for Leia. But in the end, that was again, that was a lot of extra effort to do that. And in the end, what has worked best is just giving her, and I think it helped at the time. I would do that, and that was when she was just beginning. You know, we were just kind of starting this, but she quickly resolved her issues. I would say she's probably 98% healed. She is a whole different cat. And I would say that happened within the first 30 days.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Darlene. Thank you for
You're
sharing
welcome.
your testimonial. And that was such an excellent video. I look forward to seeing how Tebow progresses. Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. So now we'll go ahead and I'll share my screen again. Let me see here. And Ruth, would you be willing to introduce us here?
Yeah. So ASEA Redox is the world's first and only redox supplement. And in order to assess the effectiveness of their redox supplement, ASEA requested a study done by the Appalachian State University's Human Performance Laboratory. So now we invite you to watch Dr. Carl Smith present his studies.
So they did some athletic studies. They did Vo2 Max and time taken to reach ventilatory threshold. Vo2 Max is the amount of oxygen you can assimilate in your body to keep your muscles going at 100%. If you're an athlete, your muscles can outperform your oxygen intake and you reach something called ventilatory threshold. It's where you hit the runner's wall. You've got to stop completely or slow down drastically to let your oxygen catch up before you can continue competing. Well, they did these studies, and after just 2 weeks on ASEA, athletes on average boosted their Vo2 Max by 3% and their time taken to ventilatory threshold by 12%. Well, what's 3% Vo2 Max? It's been said that the difference between first place and 50th place in the Tour de France is about 1 to 2% Vo2 Max. This boosted by 3% in just 2 weeks, and it's legal. It's completely legal. That 12% ventilatory threshold, what that means is these athletes could go 12% harder, 12% longer in just 2 weeks. Gains like that among top athletes take months and sometimes years to accomplish. It happens in 2 weeks on ASEA. So they did some metabolomic studies on ASEA. What they found out is within 30 minutes of ingesting ASEA, your body starts to mobilize fat from your abdomen that goes out into your bloodstream as medium chain free fatty acids. These free fatty acids can be used as a fuel source. Now the exciting thing about that is when you're on ASEA, you begin to burn fat as a fuel source first. Fat burns and produces ATP about 6 to 8 times more efficiently than muscle glycogen or stored glucose. So now all of a sudden when you're burning fat, you've got this abundant source of ATP to fuel your muscles. Well, the other thing that's exciting about it is when you burn fat, it also doesn't produce lactic acid. Anybody ever heard of lactic acid? That's what makes your muscles burn. That's what builds up in your muscles and makes you sore the next day. So now all of a sudden as athletes, you've got this abundant supply of ATP with no lactic acid production, so you recover quicker. Well, with this abundant supply of ATP, guess what the most energy demanding thing you do is? Any guesses? It's heal. What was your energy level like the last time you were really sick? Most people say, oh, I could barely get out of bed. The reason that is all of your ATP was being used to detect, repair, and replace damaged cells. You had none left over to fuel your muscles because repairing those cells took priority over your muscles. So imagine now when you're burning fat as a fuel source, producing 6 to 8 times the amount of ATP, your ability to fuel that healing process. Now take that a step further. What happens if you take this when you're not sick? Now all of a sudden you've got this amazing source of ATP to fuel your muscles. a fuel source that doesn't produce lactic acid. And that's why athletes are seeing such incredible results in endurance and such incredible results in recovery time. So they did a study on mice. They took mice, put them on little mice treadmills and ran them to exhaustion and measured how far they could run. The next thing they did is they split them up into two groups. Half of them they put on a Crea and half of them they put on a placebo in a double-blinded study. The placebo they used, we're going to talk about for just a minute. What they used was salt and water at the same concentration as a Cea. If you look on the internet, the naysayers out there say, oh, all this is salt water. And the reason they say that is that's the only ingredients in it. But it's not salt water. It's a reactive oxygen species stabilized in its bioactive form, and there's a big difference. So for the placebo, they use salt water. It's also important to bring out that there's not really a whole lot of salt in a Cea. If you wanted to get 1 day's recommended daily allowance for salt intake by drinking a Cea, you would need to drink 2 bottles, 64 ounces all at once to get 1 day's recommended daily allowance. That amount should last you 16 days. So there's really not a lot of salt in a Cea. They put half of them on a Cea, they put half of them on a placebo for 2 weeks. Then they ran them again. And what they found out is mice on a Cea, on average, can run 29% further. 29% further than the control group and 29% further than they did just 2 weeks ago. The implications for that in the athletic world are just off the charts. They also noticed there was 33% increase in sparing of muscle glycogen. And what that means is they didn't burn muscle glycogen, they were burning fat as a fuel source. I'm telling you, who doesn't want to burn fat as a fuel source? And it's also a much more efficient way to fuel your body. So here's a quick video on athletes in a Cea.
PR by a minute and a half.
I had a negative split, which is something I have been trying to achieve for 2 years.
I am simply faster and a better athlete because of the Cea.
When I was introduced to a Cea, I was very impressed with the 3 components of endurance, recovery, and repair. Something you don't see in one product ever, especially at this level.
I went down to a sports clinic and I got tested. I ran on a treadmill at an incline, got all my ventilatory thresholds and heart rates tested. And then I went on the product for 6 weeks. Returned to the same clinical test, had it all done. I was able to run faster, at a steeper incline, at a lower heart rate.
I feel stronger as rides progress, that my legs don't feel as fatigued. I feel like I have more energy and my mental focus gets stronger as the ride progresses.
It's not an energy drink. It's an endurance, which is completely different because with energy, there's a high and then there's a low. With an endurance product, there's not ever a low. It's just effective during exercise.
Okay, you might not feel an energy rush, but you go out on a long hike, a long run, a long bike ride, a long swim, and you'll find the difference. You'll feel the difference.
So this allows me to actually go out and train, feel good, recover, train more often.
I use a Cea. I think it's a good product. It's helped me in a lot of ways with recovery and quality of workouts. It's a product that I can, with good conscience recommend to my athletes.
I wouldn't want to be without it. I think my performance would drop. I think I would be risking injury, and so I absolutely love it, and I want to stay on it forever.
Any professional athlete will tell you, you know your body. You know even a certain drink or a particular meal, you really know and you're in tune with your body. And I know now that a Cea is a part of my life for the rest of my life.
So the guy in the blue shirt, his name is James Lawrence. He's a great guy. He's also known as the Iron Cowboy. He set the world's record in 2012 for number of Ironman competitions completed in 1 year. The world's record before him was 20, and everyone told him he would be crazy to try and break that world's record. Well, he broke that record. In 2012, he did 30 Ironman, averaging one about every 12 days. He endorses a Cea, and a Cea doesn't pay anybody to endorse their product. Rich Roll was voted one of the 25 most fit men on the planet. He gets on a Cea and has done something nobody else has ever done before and since. He calls it the Epic 5 Challenge. He's done it twice, where they do 5 complete Ironman on 5 different Hawaiian islands in 5 consecutive days. So every day they do another Ironman 5 days in a row. Once again, he endorses a Cea, and a Cea doesn't pay anyone to endorse her product. I have a good friend, Sean Burke, who's a physical therapist locally there in my area, and he's a fierce competitor. He started doing Ironman when he was 25 years old. And at 49, he had finished his 17th Ironman, And he decided that he was going to do one more at 50, then he was going to retire and he was going to quit racing. He knew he was taking way too much ibuprofen to deal with the soreness from training, and he knew that wasn't good for him. And he just felt like he couldn't train like he wanted to train to be competitive at the level he was used to being competitive at. To make a long story short, he gets on a Cea about 6 weeks before his 18th Ironman at 50 years old. About 3 weeks into it, he quit taking ibuprofen. And then he started training like he did back in college at 50 years old, and he got really excited. He did his 18th Ironman at 50 years old and was able to take 58 minutes and 30 seconds off his time from 49 to 50 in the same Coeur d'Alene Ironman. He got excited. He actually went on that year to have 9 personal records. And what I mean by a personal record is he's been training and competing since he was 25. He set most of those records in his 20s and 30s. He gets on a Cea and broke 9 of those records at 50 years old. He sent me an email with 14 points on it with things that he had noticed that were the most significant since getting on a Cea. This is a picture of Sean here, and this is him carrying his little pouch of a Cea. He said, "My training is no longer being controlled by the fatigue and soreness of my body. I'm now able to train by the determination of my mind. This is a whole new level of training for me." I'm telling you, when athletes find out what Sean Burke and all these other athletes, we have tons of athletes on a Cea, know about a Cea, you won't be able to keep this from them. I tell my competitive athletes, patience, if you know about a Cea now, it's going to give you a serious, measurable advantage. 5 years from now, if you don't know about it, you'll be at a disadvantage because everyone's going to be on this. That's just all there is to it.
Thank you, Ruth.
If you're a Washington homeowner, 2022 is your last chance to go solar.
There we go. So thank you, Ruth. And let me now ask Marian if you'd be willing to introduce our guests. And if you're speaking, you might be on mute.
The mic. I'm thrilled to be able to introduce our 2 very special guests today. I tell you that when I watch that video, it just gives me goosebumps. We have such a miracle product on hand. So I want to talk about Dexter and Marcia. And first of all, they're wonderful people. You know, wife, moms, grammies, they do so many things for all of us in life, but they do have a passion for being an athlete. And I have to tell you, with Dexter Yates, one convention that I was at, they had a little competition and they had other athletes come up on the stage. And then they had some of our top executives on the stage, and they're pretty buff guys. So they had them do push-ups. And Dexter just whomped most of them. They couldn't believe it. So she and Marcia have teamed up to encourage and help each other, and they're amazing. So I'm glad that they're here to tell us about their journey in athletics.
Wow, that was awfully nice, Marian. Thanks.
Thank you.
We can all go home now, though.
Yeah.
I'm going to let Dexter, she's the star of the show. I'm going to let her tell first some of the things that she has, or some of the reasons that she probably will never go off of a Cea, and that she has experienced using the redox through the years.
Well, I started doing Ironman at races back in the 90s, and I'm going to cough this time. I'm sorry. Excuse me. We just did a swim workout and then went to lunch, and then now we're doing the Zoom. So this is today's triathlon for us. In 1993 is when I started doing Ironman races, and I love the sport. However, as a working person, it became very, very difficult to do them. So for a few years, I didn't. But once I retired, I wanted to get back into doing athletics again. And I tried, and I just was having a really difficult time getting in the training needed to do a full Ironman. It involves running, swimming, and biking. And you need to do each of those disciplines about at least 2 times a week throughout your training. And as you get closer to your race, the training sessions become longer and longer. You're doing 5,000 yards of swim at least once a week. You are riding your bike at least 100 miles once a week, and you're trying to get in those longer, 10 or 15 mile runs. And doing each of those disciplines twice became really, really difficult. I get one of the workouts done and go, and then I need a couple days off. And I retired in 2010 and tried and was able to get through one race, but it just really took the steam out of my sails. In 2015, still attempting, I was acquainted with Sean Burke, and he said, give this a try and see if this helps. And I had not been able to finish a race in 2015, and I was extremely frustrated. That was in June. He told me, well, get on this and see if this helps. And by the first week of August, I had entered a triathlon Ironman distance in Boulder, Colorado at altitude. Everybody was saying, oh, it's at altitude, you're going to have trouble. And after just being on a SIA for about 6 to 8 weeks, I was able to go in and do the race, the full 2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike at altitude with a lot of elevation change, a lot of hills climbing, and 26.2 mile run afterwards. And not only was I able to do the race, I won my age group and qualified for the Ironman World Championship in Kona, Hawaii, which was absolutely just the most glorious moment of my life. I mean, it was like, I can do this.
And how old were you when you did that?
69, I think. I don't remember. I was in the 65, 69 age group at that time. Since then, I have qualified for the World Championship 6 more times. And I am now in the 75, 79 age group. I have been going to Cozumel, Mexico to do the Cozumel Ironman race. And I am the oldest female to ever finish that race. I have their course record for the 70 to 74, and the 70-79 age group. I'm holding the course record for the Cozumel Ironman there. I have qualified once more for the Ironman World Championship in Kona, Hawaii, but they haven't had it for the last 2 years. So I'm looking forward to getting out there and competing in the older age group in Hawaii for the World Championship. So
she's a beast.
We train together, and it's fun to keep challenging each other.
Yes.
So
Dexter, I know one question people are going to want to ask, and you can maybe answer, maybe not specifically, because Dexter is an ASEA athlete, and so she has some limitations on what she can and can't say. But can you give an idea a little bit about when you would take ASEA, and maybe when you would up the amount of ASEA you would take versus?
Okay, I start every single morning, whether I'm working out or not, with an 8-ounce pouch. And then I am on the vitamins as well. And I will take those as prescribed in the morning and at night. I after I've had my ASEA, then I will go out and do my training, whatever it is on that particular day. And immediately after my workout, I will take another pouch because I'm doing 2 sports and trying to do each of them twice a week. There's not that many days in a week because I still do take 1 day off. So I'm usually doing 1 or 2 sports every day. And after each workout, there'll be another pouch. It helps with recovery and sets me up so that I'm able to do the next workout. Then, of course, in the evening, after I've showered, or if I'm showering after a workout, I will use the Renew 28 on any sore muscles or even muscles that I feel maybe need a little extra attention for healing and recovery, so that when I wake up the next morning, I'm ready to face my next workout, whatever that might be.
Tell me, after you do a long day, say it's one of our long days out on the trail in the summer, we like to go out on this gorgeous trail and we'll ride anywhere from 60 to 100 miles. How do you feel the next day, the next morning?
Well, I think that's the most amazing thing. And we've laughed about it a lot of times because where we ride, it is actually about an hour's drive. And if anybody has done a hard workout and then got in their car and just turned on the air conditioning and kicked back and start driving for an hour, one of the major things that you usually notice is when you stop that car and go to get out, your muscles aren't working. And it seems like on the way home, we're drinking our ASEA and we just jump out of the car and go, man, I can't believe it. And then, to go home and, fix dinner and go to bed, you get up the next morning and it's like, oh, let's see, today is swim 5,000 yards and do a, 7 or 8 mile run. And you're ready for it. You don't get out of bed feeling like, oh no, you're excited for it because as I keep saying is at my age, I get to go out and play every single day. And it's totally amazing for me.
Yeah.
We get to play together like a couple of kids.
Yep. She's pulled me along into this world of hers. So I'm not sure where you want us to go from there. Do you have specific questions or?
Well, you tell a little bit about your experience with it too, Marcia. To me, the race is incredible. Who would ever be able to do that? But it's the training boy, talk about consistency, talk about commitment. So yeah.
It's been an honor, about 1.5 years ago. I can't believe it was like July of the year, but it'll be 2 years this July. I got up the courage to ask Dexter if I could go riding with her. I thought, oh boy, she's not going to want me to ride with her because I'll be dragging behind. And so I chased her for 1 year and now I can keep up with her. But my triathlon story is a little bit different because I didn't come from a huge endurance background. I swam as a kid, but it was short, 2-minute races, 3-minute races, maybe occasionally one that's a little bit longer. And didn't really do any athletics. I had 4 kids and keeping up with them. And I always like to walk and ride my bike a little bit, but I never ran. I don't even know if I call it running now, but I move at a faster pace than a walk. But I never even tried that until after I was 50. I decided to start getting fit again. And what I found was, as I started to move, is that I had a lot of trouble breathing and started to look back and realized I had some issues even in my younger years when I was competing. I always thought that I just was wimpy. And, at the end of a set or something, and when I was having breathing challenges and nobody around me was, and figured out, that now there's things that we know about breathing, that not everybody does it as easily as everybody else. And I had some real breathing issues as I started to train and try and get fit again. My husband and I would have this little loop we would ride that was like an 11-mile loop, and it had a hill going up in it. And he'd try and talk to me on it. And it was like, I about to take his head off, because it's like, I am not going to waste any oxygen trying to talk back to you right now. So just be quiet. And I found out later on that I actually have quite a bit of scar tissue in my lungs, and that was causing some difficulties with breathing. But through, fast forward to starting to take ASEA, I've found that I used to try the inhalers, things like that, but it doesn't really affect that issue. And my doctor wanted me put me on a steroid one, which I always said, no, I'm just not doing that. Now I know that might have been a good option, but I'm glad I didn't, because I found ASEA. And we know that one of the things that ASEA does is it turns on the ability to create a little bit of more elasticity and things. And I that may be what's happening to me. I don't know, but it's allowed me to get through that so that I can train further. My endurance is longer. It's much more enjoyable. I love to train now. I love to go out and ride. And I'm the one, Dexter's probably telling me to shut up, because I tend to, my mind gets going and I think of these questions because she's so experienced, and I want to ask her, well, what do I do about this? Or I come up with some formula of how many miles we've gone, or
She used to have the question of the week.
Yes.
My question this week.
Yeah. And I was able to go, and she'd say, oh, let's do hill repeats. And it used to start it out with one. And, with the ability with ASEA on board, whether your training is getting to the mailbox or getting down to the corner or getting around the block, as you use
weeding the flower garden,
as you're using your ASEA, you're going to find out that you have the endurance to do just a little bit more. And I didn't think that was possible. I thought it was going to be a little bit less. And that's not the journey that we've been on, either one of us.
No.
With ASEA, we're able to say, you know what, let's just go a little bit more. And it amazes me that I can do that. And then, like Dexter said, the next day is a whole new world. Let's go do it again.
Yeah.
And through that journey, she's, in her gentle prodding, maybe not so gentle sometimes. I did complete my first Ironman last fall as a 63-year-old. Yeah, 63-year-old. I got to think about what year, because your age is kind of different. Your age is the age you are at the first of the year, and you compete at that age.
At the end of the year.
At the end of the year, I'm sorry, on December 31st, and you compete at that age all year.
So this year I'm competing as a 77-year-old.
Yeah, but her birthday is in August, but all year she'll be 77.
All year long in my races, I'm a 77-year-old. And there's last year, because of COVID and some of the races didn't happen, but last year there were only 2 women in the entire world in my age group. And I just wonder, why isn't everybody out there enjoying this and having fun? And as I always say, is you get to go play as an adult, and having the energy to do that is unbelievable.
It's kind of amazing to me that I look and I think my best buddy that takes me out riding and challenges me is 76. And I think, hallelujah, I've got, got some years to go.
Yes.
And I can continually to do just a little bit more. Next year I get to move up age groups. And so that'll be a fun year for me. So I better do a little bit more this year to get ready for that.
Well, as a onlooker, one of the things that really struck me was we were over at your house one day and watching you move, Marcia. She is slim and fit and buff. So looking like that, I just imagine you feel so much better.
You do, and the things that you can do, I have 4, almost 5 grandkids on the way, but they were all up in Spokane here about a month ago, and we took them to a little kids jumping, playing place. I forget what it's called, but and there's these slides that you would climb up and then you'd slide down with the kids. And there's a row of chairs where all the grandmas and moms and dads and stuff can sit and watch. I was going the whole time, and it's such a privilege. As I was climbing up, there's this one that's pretty steep, and all 4 grandkids, from 1.5 to 4 wanted to go up, and to be able to just throw one under my arm and pull them up and get them down there. And I thought, this is such a privilege to get to live and experience life with my grandkids like that. And there's no way I would have done that without ASEA. There's absolutely no way.
I have a grandchild experience too that happened to me. My grandson, who's in his 20s and wanted to propose to his now fiance, and he has, with step grandparents and so forth, he has several people that he could have chose, but he chose me to go with him and his fiance, who was just his girlfriend, to Disneyland, where he wanted to propose to her. We opened the park at the minute it opened. We were right there in line, and we closed the park, and he chose me to go with them. And you know who wanted to ask to sit down and rest? It was not Grandma. Grandma was going the entire day from the opening to the closing of the park. And I felt very honored to be chosen to be the one to be there, to be the official photographer for this event. And it's such a thrill to me to be able to have the energy and the stamina. And I literally was there with a couple of 20-year-olds, and I wore them out. I did. Yay me.
It's pretty fun to have the endurance to do and to do more. And that's what I would say to people watching this. If you're feeling like, oh yeah, I'm not an Ironman, I can't do that kind of thing. But what is your Ironman? Is it the thing that scares you to go out and walk, around the block, or to go walk a mile, or to maybe get a friend and go up on Mount Spokane and take a hike and a picnic? Are those things that in your mind you say, oh, I can't do that, and it's limiting your choices in life? Then I'd really recommend that you get on ASEA, that you try this product and see if you can't expand the things that you can do in life and the experiences that you get to have.
Spend the day with your grandkids and wear them out.
Yeah.
On the way home, I was driving, and in the back seat with the 2 kids sleeping, by the way,
Get pictures of that.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Marcia. Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask the ladies a question, because I'm into fitness and everything, and always have been for a long time. Do you both do a weight training program along with your training?
That's been a challenge in the last couple of years with, gyms being limited.
Closed, yeah.
We were both very faithful until COVID. I did some at home. We've made a home gym, and now I do Pilates twice a day or twice a week, and starting to do more because that was a weakness of mine last year. But yes, strength, and that's something that the Renew 28, Dexter alluded to that a little bit. But after a strength workout, covering yourself and slathering from head to toe in Renew 28 as an additional, besides drinking the ASEA,
from the outside in and the inside
an
out.
absolute must in getting that recovery and the endurance through. If you're in the middle of a workout, that's something, and you start to feel something just a little bit off, maybe a knee or a shoulder or something, and you're going, some days in the past, that might've been something that's telling me it's time to stop. But I found that I can be able to use the Renew on that knee or whatever, or if we're out on the trail, or and then things start communicating better. You start to, instead of maybe that tired muscle not doing its job all the way, it starts kicking in, and you don't get the bad movement pattern that maybe you might have fallen into as you started to get fatigued. It's amazing to me what I've been able to work through by doing that.
Yeah, the the home gym situation is kind of what I have at my house now too. It's not the same as having a coach there with you and showing you the proper movements, but I've done them for enough years that at home with the limited equipment that I have, I can do workouts. And if, as Marcia said, sometimes during the workout, you go, oh, you know, this isn't as flexible as it should. That's just, to me, is a message that, you know, that area wants some Renew 28 on it this evening and give it a little extra love.
So do you both, after you do your strength training program, then do you drink some ASEA at that point? Post work? Is that what you
I'm
do?
doing Pilates now, and I'm actually doing some private Pilates because I really want to hit it hard, because I've had some kind of weird challenges when I'm running at the end of my Ironman. And I just keep a pouch in the car. That's the nice thing. ASEA, you can get the ASEA liquid in a bottle, or you can get it in the small pouch like you were talking about that you use with the animals. It's an 8-ounce pouch. And those are wonderful for putting in the gym bag, or I keep several in the console of my car. So I've got them anytime I need them.
Have an ice chest that I cart back and forth with me. I don't leave it in the car because I find that it freezes if I leave it in the car, but
I have a garage that's heated, or not heated, but it doesn't get too bad.
But I have the pouches that I put in my ice chest that comes with me every time. And when I finish, it's just automatic. You finish a workout, whether it be a swim, a bike, a gym workout, or run, you know, whatever it is, it's just an automatic thing, is to just start replenishing what I've torn down or what I need, whatever my body needs, with the pouch after each workout.
And how much is that? How much do you consume after
It's an 8-ounce pouch.
8 ounce. Okay.
Yeah, and so like on the days that I have two workout sessions, it's quite frequent that I will take 3 pouches on that day, one first thing in the morning and one after each of my training sessions.
The one thing that we've learned about, you know, the dosage, if you want to say, for ASEA is, if you look at the bottle, that the basic recommendation is 2 ounces in the morning and 2 ounces in the evening. And that's great. That's what I started out when I was introduced to ASEA.
Me too.
But what we find is that if you stay there, it takes longer before you have a noticeable experience sometimes. Some people are really lucky and it's right away.
I think it depends upon how much damage you have.
Yeah. And your age.
Yeah.
And so, you know, what we like to tell people, my husband and I, is that, you know, if you're not noticing something, you know, some kind of change or having some sort of experience, you know, that you're wishing you had in the first couple of weeks, then go ahead and increase the amount of ASEA you're taking. And you can see some real changes there. And that's what Dexter's had to do, as she's learned, you know, as her body is aged and she's making less, you know, redox signaling molecules. We make less as we get older. And then as she's stressing her body with the harder workouts, she's learned to find a balance that works best for her at the elite athlete level that she's at. Oops, you're muted there, Darlene.
I have one more question. Where I work out, there's a lot of gentlemen doing bodybuilding, you know, really working on that physique. With the consumption of ASEA, redox, are we finding that our muscle mass, we get muscle mass quicker while using this product? Are we building that faster?
Where one thing that's happening as you're taking the redox is you're increasing the communication, you're increasing the store that you're taking from the ATP. And so, you know, depending upon what exercise they're doing, you know, I would tend to want to be more flexible, not bulk up and that kind of thing. So I'm going to do a different type of routine. So I might not show the muscle ability, the muscle growth, but yes, I believe that it's going to help their body to do what their body is being coached to do best at that time. We find out whether they're healthy and they're trying to increase muscle and increase their athletic fitness
And their endurance.
Because they got to have that endurance to be able to do the reps they need to do. But also for the person that is, you know, maybe having a challenge, a physical challenge, and maybe they're even taking medication for that physical challenge. We find that communication gets increased, and then they're able to use, their body can use what's being put in. For those muscle builders that are really trying to be the power lifters, they have some specific nutrition that they're probably taking that maybe is a little different than Marian or I would take. And their body has to know, they can put all that great nutrition and extra stuff in, but if their body doesn't have the communication within their cells to use that as appropriately as it can, then they're not going to get the results. And that's where ASEA comes in. It's that great communicator. You know, it's the contractor that can take all those parts, that exercise they're doing, the reps they're doing, the nutrition they're putting in, and help it all to communicate better and get the result they want.
Thank you. You two are amazing. Thank you for the information.
Oh, it's fun. I loved hearing your story of your dog. Oh my gosh.
Oh, yes.
You know, the neat thing about animals too, that I love about that story, they don't lie. They don't have,
they can't fake it.
And they don't have any desire to fake it because they're not going to get reward by faking it.
No,
they're going to get
they're
a lot.
So honest. And your little dog there, the way it was walking, so impressive. Thank goodness my little dog is pretty healthy, but boy, she's going to be on ASEA, I'm for, as long as I can keep her, going, because they are just,
and what a great example, too, about our bodies and our endurance with our bodies. I mean, we are all human bodies, dog bodies, cat bodies, whatever.
But they all are.
I mean, as I was watching that video and I thought, you know what, I've had some issues with my back and my feet and my lungs that could have had me, if I chose a different road, 9 years ago, if I hadn't been on ASEA for those 9 years, maybe I'd be walking like your dog, or being, not on four legs, but, it made me think that when I saw your dog and see the improvement, and I thought, oh my gosh, that's
honest.
That's honest. And that's where my path could have gone. Everybody has a choice, now if they're hearing this, they've heard about ASEA redox. They've seen, what it does in animals. They've heard what it's doing in humans now. And it's time for a choice. Are you going to go down this road and maybe be like that dog without a stick? Or are you going to go down this road and have the health that dog does and the quality of life that TiVo has now? It's a choice. It's a choice. Which one do you want to be on? Which road do you want to be on? And for me, and I know for Dexter, we're going on the ASEA highway because we want to live life to the fullest.
Amen.
Yeah, that's great. So I'm wondering, Marcia, if you could kind of walk us through what are different options if people are interested in getting started.
There are several different options. I don't know if you want me to share my screen or you want me to just talk through.
Well, let me just get you so you can share your screen. There you go. Go ahead and share your screen.
I'll share my screen here. See if I can get lucky. I tried to key up something. Here we go. Just gives me some talking points. I gotta move this here out of the way so I can push play. Okay. We've talked about ASEA and we talked about the redox, which is the bottles, where it comes in the pouch, the liquid, and Dexter alluded just very briefly to the nutritionals we have, which I take faithfully. I mean, I can be in bed and if I forgot to take my evening dose, I'm downstairs to take, because I've seen on my watch, I had data from before, I have data from after, and my quality of sleep has improved. Even though I was taking ASEA, it improved even to another level when I started on the nutritionals. And then we have our skincare that we really didn't talk about. We talked about the Renew 28, the white tubes there, but we also have a great skincare line for taking care of your skin as you're out and you're living this quality of life. You need to also take care of your skin, and we have an incredible routine for doing that. You've heard about the products. Well, you have some choices now about how you want to be involved with the SIA as you start your journey. You know, you can just be a consumer, not just be, but you can be a consumer, which is a great option. You know, you'll have access to all the products at wholesale pricing, and you'll be experiencing better health. You'll get to be seeing that change like Thibaut did. You can decide to become what's called an associate, and you can share and earn. You can start to, as you know, if Thibaut was a human, he'd be wanting to tell all his dog friends, hey, don't be sitting in the corner. Come on, get on this ASEA and join me. Let's go play. And that's a great place to be. And you can earn some money and pay for your product. Or maybe you've decided, you know, you're looking for a business that you want to make a full-time income and maybe beyond, which, you know, is what my husband and I did. And we have been blessed to be able to be done with our family's finances and to be able to go beyond and give when we want to give. And it's so much fun. Well, to do that, before we talk about the way you can get product, I just want to make sure we set correct expectations. You've seen some things, you've heard some stories, but none of them happened in a flash of a finger. Know that, you know, some people will take ASEA Redox, the liquid or the gel, and they'll get an immediate dramatic response that says, whoa, and that might happen in that first week, but not very many people does that happen to. But we know that within a month of consistent, that's consistent is important, consistent consuming of ASEA and using the Renew gel, that 50% of people will have or see a significant change. In 2 months, 75%, and then after 3 months, 90% or more will see or feel a consistent, marked change in some area of their life. So we really recommend as you go start your ASEA journey that you plan on not 3 months and then make your decision if you're going to continue on or not, because you don't want to play Russian roulette at 1 month and, you know, 50% saw a change, 50% didn't. What are you going to miss out on if you happen to be one of those 50% that didn't at 1 month? So we really recommend that you make at least a 90-day commitment. There's no, you know, some people say, oh, I got to go get more information. Don't do it. Dive in, because there's a money back guarantee that you can get on your product for up to 2 used cases of product, and then even 2 more where you would have to send back the unused product, and you could get a full refund. So, you know, dive in, use the product, because ultimately you're going to choose to use ASEA when you see an effect on yourself. You know, most people are not going to, you know, you're going to say, yeah, but when you feel it and you see a change in your own self or your own family or your own animals, you're going to be locked in. You can sign up as a preferred customer. That's the first category, and you can purchase any of the products that ASEA has. You can do that at wholesale pricing. You'll also receive, it also requires that you sign up for a subscription order, which means you buy some sort of ASEA product every month. If you want the wholesale pricing, then that's your give for getting that great pricing. And you will earn what's called loyalty reward points that will get you free product eventually with your monthly subscription order. You can also sign up as an associate. That's that person that's going to be like Thibaut, that wants to tell all his dog friends, hey, get on this product, and you want to be excuse me, reimbursed for that and get some commission for it off of that. We have some great packs, and you can see that you can save some dollars in free product and benefits of like free enrollment in the larger packs. The people that invited you to this, to watch this video, they can help you to choose what is best for you. They, you know, will know what your physical and financial needs are. If one of those packs doesn't work perfectly for you, you too can also, as an associate, make up your own pack or add some of these products to a pack if there's one that you like, and you still earn the same perks as you would if you bought the product in that initial pack. So there's, you know, and there again, you know, the person that invited you to this knows what your circumstances are. And, you know, you look at it, it's overwhelming, but they can help you narrow down and give you a couple of options that will work best for you and your family. You will need to put in a monthly subscription, and you can do that here. You can choose, again, any of ASEA's products and choose your subscription date. All subscriptions are billed on Saturdays. So as you choose your date, you'll notice they're always on a Saturday. And then again, there's this, you know, when you're the savings that you can get at different levels of, if you want to be a retail customer, you'll just pay full price. There's no wholesale pricing for a retail customer. Preferred customer is going to get that wholesale pricing and earn loyalty reward points, and the associate is going to get all of those benefits. So I recommend that you get together with the person that invited you to the video, ask for their recommendations of what they think is the best place for you to start, and then you can choose from those which is best for you and your family. So let me get out of there. Get back to you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. I've learned so much and I'm really inspired. I'm guessing, one of the things I'd like to ask is when you have somebody that they've been pretty active. I had somebody that was asking a question, submitted a question beforehand, but maybe there's somebody that's rode like big motorcycles, but they have energy issues. What kinds of recommendations could you make for somebody that they've been active, but now they are having energy issues?
Get on ASEA.
Yeah, that was me 100%. I had been active. I had done Ironman. I loved it. I just couldn't do it anymore. I just did not have the stamina. I didn't have the endurance. My mind was, I wanted to do it. I was excited about it. And I would go out with all of this energy and I'd do the workout. And then the next day there was just nothing left. My husband used to say that I would come home from a race and I wouldn't be worth anything for a week or two. And after being on ASEA, I'd come home from a race and I'd be like, oh God, I got to get my bike unpacked because I want to get out and ride. It just made such a huge difference. But one other thing that I thought of in listening to all of this, that you notice things within 3 months or something. And one of the things that I didn't really notice or pay attention to until after I had been on it for like a year or so was my immune system and how it had improved. I used to constantly be going out and doing these workouts, getting tired. And then one of the results that would happen frequently is I would get a sinus infection. I would get a cold. I would have flu symptoms or something to that effect. But after I had been on ASEA for like a year, it's like, oh, it's been almost a year since I've been sick. So that's another thing that I think helps people and is the immune system, besides the endurance and the ability to get up and do a workout the next day, is the long-term things that you notice after being on it for a while.
So there's an accumulation effect is what I'm hearing, that your body.
Yeah, exactly. I guess I'm not very good at articulating that, but it was just something that I thought of when I saw that chart. It was like suddenly you don't realize that you haven't been sick until you haven't been sick for an extended amount of time.
When you do get sick now, you have no patience for it.
No, it's like, how did this happen? And then of course I take more ASEA and try to get over it as quick as I can.
Yeah, absolutely. So when somebody's starting out, I guess part of it might be, maybe you could speak to Marcia, what the recommendations are based on ages for people to get started on this, and if they're wanting to build their endurance.
Yeah. For most people that are, the bottles will say 2 ounces in the morning, 2 ounces in the evening. But what we do know is that as we get older, we start losing the ability to produce the redox molecules. And so we would recommend, you know, depending upon what you're going to need to talk to the person that brought you to the meeting, you know, to listen to this too. But most people that are 50 or above, if they can, they'll want to start out at about 8 ounces a day, breaking that up. If that's not possible, then go ahead and do 2 ounces and 2 ounces. Just know that it might take you a little longer. You might need to show a 6-month commitment to get started with. So it's really, you know, it depends upon what works for your family financially and for your patients. If you don't have the patience or the time, maybe because of what your physical circumstance is, if you're on a limited ticking time bomb, you don't want to mess around. You want to get as much ASEA in you as you can. And so that's would be my recommendation.
Remembering, Marcia, that you also had mentioned before how you use the serum as someone that's out there really hitting it hard and building your endurance and all. How do you use the serum when you're doing what you do?
Well, I use it on my face because my face takes a lot of abuse with all the sun and the wind and weather. But also, it's really easy. It's a smaller tube. It's easy for us to stick in our bike bag to have with us on the trail.
Transition bags.
And in your transition bags. And like when we race, you have to wear your race number. So we have a little belt with a little pouch in it, and we keep a tube of it in there. For example, one time at transition, I got off my bike after, the 112 miles, and I sat down on the ground to put on my shoes, and my leg cramped up. And I thought, I can't get my foot up where I can reach it to tie my shoe or put it on even. So I pulled out, Dexter had me put in a little tube of that in my little pouch, and I pulled it out and stuck it on my leg and rubbed it, and cramp was gone, and I could get my shoe on and go on my merry way. So that's one way we've used. It's used by bee stings. The old bee that gets down the shirt.
Oh,
that's
right.
Yeah. You got one on your nose or something. Did you last year? Right under your eye or something?
Well, it kind of got in my helmet. And wasn't happy.
It's a great thing to have is for a first aid kit item for any bug bites or bee stings, that type of thing. I mean, I've used that with my grandkids too. I mean, the crying stops. It's awesome.
But also as you age, if you're out in the sun, which we are when we're training in the summer, it can be very damaging to your skin. And I noticed that this last week I was visiting with my sister, and she's just a couple years older than me, but boy, our complexions, and she's my sister. So, we have the same genetic background, but my skin looks a lot nicer than hers, which isn't nice to say, but it's the truth.
It's the truth. Yeah.
And Marcia, doesn't it have a good quality if you've had an injury that's cut open the skin for bleeding too? It will stop that.
Well, what we find actually the best for something like that is actually the liquid at first, the instant injury. Yeah, I mean, I've had a son put his fingers to the table saw, and that's how I was able to get him to stop bleeding immediately. I mean, it was bleeding profusely, and I just put his hand over the sink and glug glug, and it stopped. It was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. But yeah, for burns, also would recommend the liquid first. It seems to, you might think I'll put the serum on it or something, but if you can, the part that's burned, get it submerged in ASEA liquid. If it's like we had a little, my daughter's friends, must've been a year and a half old, maybe 2 years old, but he poured over the hot water from his dad's coffee on his top of his foot. And, to put a whole foot in ASEA, that's a little costly, to put a bucket of ASEA and just to put a foot in. But what we had them do is put the ASEA in a plastic baggie, and then put his foot in the bag, and then put that in a bucket of water. And then the ASEA is pushed up onto the top of the foot. And they also just sprayed the ASEA on it. They were told he was going to have skin grafts. weekly doctor's appointments, monthly, and on and on. And after a month, he was excused. They said it's healed up. We don't need to see you anymore. We don't know why, but it's healed up. So, yeah, it's great for that. And then later, as a wound is healing some, then you can start using the, put the Renew on, and then even if you need to put an antibacterial, put the Renew on, let it stay for a while, then put the antibacterial on if your doctor is saying, or somebody's insistent on putting that on, and then put the Band-Aid on it or whatever.
Okay. Those are some great tips. Thank you so much. We just want to check with everybody if there's any other questions that they'd like to ask. And I do want to just thank you so incredibly much for making the time to be with us today. And I'm so inspired for my own journey going forward too.
We enjoyed it. Then we got our triathlon in today. We got swim, lunch, and Zoom.
There you go. Well, we'll have to have you back and hear some more of your adventures in the future, because it's really been fun. I'd like to invite everybody to join us again next Tuesday evening at 7 o'clock, where we'll be meeting with Jerry White. So thank you.